I heard it, dude. I heard it was right there. It was clear as day.
How many shots?
Like 10 times the second time.
Rapid fire?
Yeah. Oh man, it didn't stop. It was no mercy. It was no mercy. It was just like whoever shot that time was, oh man, it was massive.
That was the second victim, and it was a third victim.
And then I think he shot somebody else because there was 4 more shots after that. It went bam, 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 and then after that, I heard nothing.
Breaking news on CBS 2 and KCAL 9. You heard.
I started an IV and
Many points.
pushing some lidocaine so it wouldn't refibrillate on us.
This is Northern California, just south of San Francisco. And you heard him say there was rapid fire, talking about the gunshots, saying it didn't stop. There are unconfirmed reports that there are at least 10 victims taken to local hospitals there in the San Francisco area. And the coroner, we now know, has arrived on the scene. So that would indicate that there is possibly at least one person.
Pull them out of there. What if I ever see them again?
Rapid fire, talking about the gunshots, saying it didn't stop.
55-year-old Jim Knox was taken to Highline Community Hospital, where his wife Jane joined Dick as soon as she heard what had happened.
Area, and the coroner now has arrived on the scene, so that would
right now, this is obviously a ground shot from nearby. People walking out seem to be walking out calmly, but of course, anytime you hear shots fired at your place of work, it's got to be terrifying for several of those people who heard it. Many people did. There are multiple shots fired, and as we've been mentioning, injuries. No. To glean a little more information on that. Yes, I'm being told we will be able to carry that statement live. He says he's going to speak at 2:30. That might have to slide one way or the other because obviously his priority right now is securing that scene and trying to get the information from his officers on the ground to make sure that they're able to put out the most accurate information possible. Of course, law enforcement there on the scene is very well aware of the fact that this news has gotten out and that there are hundreds, thousands of terrified people right now around the Debate area wondering if their friends, family members are among the victims because we know there are several there after a shooting at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, which is on lockdown right now. And right now, if you can see the red umbrellas there, that outdoor cafe, that's where we are hearing that the shooting started. And our reporter, Andrea Borba, who was there at the scene, spoke with a YouTube software engineer, a witness of all of this. And he said he saw a man on the ground in that courtyard with an apparent bullet wound to the stomach. And the witness broke out in tears while he was telling Andrea what was happening, obviously overcome with emotion. This is very difficult for these employees to witness, and it was on 1 o'clock when a lot of people were outside enjoying lunch. This was a nice day. That outdoor cafe, obviously a place that they would all congregate, and then we saw in our chopper footage that some of the chairs had been toppled over, and earlier police looked to be putting down evidence markers. This is video from earlier as several employees are being walked down those stairs, their arms above their head, as police try to find the shooter and then also get everyone out safely. And that's what they have to do. There's 1,700 employees there, but several hundred in nearby businesses as well. Several office complexes are right there near YouTube's headquarters. The location, for those of you who are just joining us, right at Cherry Avenue and Bay Hill Drive, Traeger Avenue, the buildings there also impacted. That would include the Department of Social Services, but there's a Walmart headquarters there, main office, business office near YouTube, and that would be the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, that obviously where all of this has been occurring. That's the scene. All right, we just heard from Senator Dianne Feinstein. She took to Twitter to express her sadness about headquarters. The location, for those of you who are just joining us, right at Cherry Avenue and Bay Hill Drive, Traeger Avenue, the buildings there also impacted. That would include the Department as we're taking a look right now at the outdoor seating area where it started. We're also hearing President Trump has been briefed on this situation, but we haven't gotten any official word from him or his office at this point. Again, this happened less than an hour and a half ago. Now, Netta had mentioned Andrea Borba's conversation, a reporter on the scene conversation with a software engineer who heard the gunshots there near that cafe, went outside, saw a man lying on the ground. He appeared to have been shot in the stomach. He saw a lot of blood, and that he also heard another person on the scene say, "Come and get." So we don't know at this point what that indicates or what that person's situation was at the time, but one of the haunting tales at this early hour that we're hearing from away. Stanford Hospital confirms 4 to 5 patients were being treated there, but SF General not confirming how many people were being brought to their hospital, but they did say that they are treating people with multiple injuries and multiple people injured. Yeah, it is still, again, so early that we don't have a lot of information confirmed. That is why the press conference, the news conference we're about to get from the San Bruno police chief is going to be imperative. That will be our first chance to get some of these reports that we've heard coming from this area confirmed, because last word was an active shooter on so what is at least that this police chief can confirm that that is no case, that this person or persons has been neutralized. And as soon as all of this happened, of course, people took to social media to report what they were seeing. Let's take a look.
A lot of breath. We're going for a walk. There's gunfire at YouTube. I've been calling 911. It's hella busy.
Wow, that woman who walked right by there, posting that video on Snapchat, she described what she saw as we heard panic in her voice, out of breath as well. Of course, hearing shots fire, place of business. A terrifying thing. Other users all seeing snaps showing views who are on this scene. This is our Chopper 5 also showing you people being escorted out right there on the sidewalk there at the bottom of your screen, but also a heavy police presence, law enforcement vehicles, several vans and police cars out there, and several law enforcement agencies all out there, including the ATS, trying to get a handle of what's going on. And those are the people there with their hands up as law enforcement are trying to get them out safely, while also making sure the shooter doesn't walk out of the scene without them knowing. So that's another task they have at hand, trying to get hundreds of people out of there while also trying to figure out who did all of this. Unconfirmed reports right now of a possible female shooter and a male. That's what police may be looking for, but the police chief will have updated information right now. We do want to hear from them to kind of provide that official word, because of course that could help calm a lot of people's nerves in that area. This is a wider view. Get them out safely while also making sure the shooter doesn't walk out of the scene without them knowing. So that's another task they have at hand, trying to get hundreds of people out of there while also trying to figure out who did all of this. Unconfirmed reports right now, but possible female shooter and a male. That's what police may be looking for. Cafe right there at the YouTube headquarters. And of course, off the freeway. Yeah, big question for a lot of people right now is the injuries, the casualties from this situation, and that is the information we don't have, but we can say that there have been multiple injuries. A lot of folks sent to San Francisco General Hospital, no number, and we know that 4 or 5 people were sent via ambulance to Stanford Hospital to the south. So some of those emergency vehicles going north, some going south, and the fact that the coroner's van has been called to the scene indicates could have been and death in this at about now have some reaction from Representative Jackie Spear, who represents the area in Congress. She tweeted, "I am shocked and saddened to hear about another mass shooting, this one at YouTube in my district. I am following developments and am sending prayers to the victims and survivors. We must take action and hashtag end gun violence." Of course, Representative Spear also very vocal on gun control. So again, this is going to be part of conversation that is, of course, a view, the pro-gun control view shared by many of California's politicians and representatives. And again, here is happening in our own backyard. So this is certainly information and experience that they will take into their continued fight for gun control. But we are still in the early stages of this breaking active shooters situation in San Bruno. So as we know how these things go, that conversation will come. But at this point, I know that hundreds of people are wondering if their loved ones are safe, and we are going to bring you that information as soon as we possibly can. Our best source of information is going to come from the San Bruno police chief. Was set to speak at 2:30, and it's obviously a few minutes after that point. This is Chief Ed Barberini. He is going to update us on what they can tell us about the scene right now. You're looking at the podium. You can see a lot of the news media there setting up their microphones because everybody is just desperate for information. We've gotten a little bit that is poured out via social media, but this is what we know as far as the scene. It's that map there on your screen, the YouTube headquarters there in San Bruno near Cherry Avenue and Bay Hill. It is very close to the freeways 380 and 280. Initial reports of coming into 911 of people reporting a barrage of gunfire coming in, and soon after, law enforcement appeared to know that they were dealing with an extremely bad vehicles just flooded the areas from local law enforcement. We now have federal agents on the scene only about an hour and a half after it happened. So it has been a very swift and
we are following this breaking news in the San Francisco area, San Bruno, where there has been a shooting on the campus of YouTube. And apparently we're getting word now that one person is dead. Let's listen in.
Employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine. We did encounter one victim with an apparent gunshot wound towards the front of the business as we arrived. Several minutes later, while conducting search of the premises, officers located a second individual with a gunshot wound that appears to may have been self-inflicted. We are still working on confirming that. Two additional victims were located several minutes later at an adjacent business. The extent of all of the injuries of our victims known right now. They were all transported for care, but they are unknown. So we have 4 victims who have all been transported for gunshot-related injuries, and we have one subject who's deceased inside the building with a self-inflicted wound that at this time we believe to be the shooter. We're still following up on that. Multiple law enforcement responded to assist everyone's help and assistance. We could not have responded and accomplished this without everybody's help. This is an active investigation. Numerous law enforcement conducting a search of the business just to make sure that it is clear. We conducted a quick, immediate search of the premises when the first officers arrived as per protocol. And after that search was concluded, now we're going through with a methodical, slow search just to make. That's all I have for this time. We hope to have something, give you the time of the next press update. We'll put that out as soon as we have that information. I'm sorry? No, I cannot confirm that. It's a female. My understanding is that they've been transported. They're being treated for injuries that are treatable. We're hoping for the best, obviously. My understanding is the building has been evacuated. There are people in the immediate area. We're obviously trying to contact a large amount of people to try to identify and gain some information from witnesses at the scene. So you can imagine it's a monumental task with the number of employees. Can you tell us about what weapon? I'm sorry? Can you tell us about what weapon or weapons? I have that information. I'm sorry. Do you have Well, we have. I haven't taken inventory of all the agencies. We work well with our partners, and we're grateful that they're here. I want to to clarify that we did locate a victim with a inflicted gunshot wound. It's a female, but the investigation is still ongoing before we can put all the pieces together.
Is this person an ex-employee?
I don't have any information regarding that.
Looking for another shooter?
We are clearing the building and searching the building in a slow, methodical manner like we would do anyway. So we haven't eliminated that possibility. Information to suggest that there's somebody else in there that we're looking for.
Where are the employees now? We saw them walking through.
Yeah, well, a lot of employees self-evacuate, you can imagine. We've identified a group that we want to talk to, and we have staging areas where our detectives are reaching out to them and interviewing them. So we're trying to do as orderly as we can, but a lot of people, pretty hectic scenario. So it's.
Are they in that building that on YouTube? They're outside the ones that you're identifying?
No, I believe, my understanding is that the building has been evacuated, so they're all outside of that.
Okay, how many people are you talking about here?
Several hundred, a few hundred. I'm sorry, a few hundred. It was my understanding. I don't know.
And was the boyfriend there?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know the circumstances surrounding this at all. I don't want to eliminate any possibility. I don't know any of that for sure. Like I said, this is still active. We're still investigating this. There's a lot of things that I don't know right now. I don't have that information. Right? I will try to get you an update as soon as we can once we know more. But I'm giving you almost everything at this point. So yeah, when we know, I don't want to give you a time because I may not have a lot for you. So when we can identify a time that's appropriate to come back and again, we'll do that immediately. We'll probably put that out through our media list and through social media.
Sorry, Chief. We have one employee that police have badges and access cards to the building. Do you have any trouble getting where you
don't have any information regarding that right now.
Is there a problem with security at YouTube? We've heard there's not even medical detectives on the outside.
We're not even at that point yet. We're still trying to address the situation in front of us. Okay, I will get you some more information in a few minutes. I don't know. They've not been identified. So that's all I have. And again, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
We've been getting preliminary information here from San Bruno Police Barberini on the shooting that took place on the campus of the YouTube headquarters there at the cafe right around 1 o'clock this afternoon. The police confirming information saying that 4 victims were transported with gunshot-related injuries to the hospital, and one person, a female, who they believe may be the shooter in this, also dead on the scene there of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Right now, they're still on lockdown there. Officer, preliminary information here from San Bruno Police Barberini on the
based on what we've been told so far, and, being what it is, that it repeats itself, just based on the fact of when it occurred, where it occurred, the time of day that it occurred, would spell either one of two things: a current or former employee that's come back to find some type of revenge, or the other part of this, I firmly believe, has a higher probability because it's a female shooter, which is highly unlikely statistically, would be some type of domestic violence related scenario. So I think those are the two things that, as this unveils more in the hours to come, I think that's where we're going to be looking at.
Paul, we're also, CBS News is confirming that law enforcement officials said the FBI is now on the scene. They're assisting police. What does that tell you?
That they're going to start breaking down from the behavioral side. They're going to start breaking down the shooter and the collection of information, what was known, what was foreseeable, who else may have had information regarding this. Just the behavioral investigative side, the FBI's experience will be brought to bear with the Sheriff's Department, which the collaboration that's used and that's needed for an incident such as this.
Yeah, you make a good point of resources and how important that is. Paul, why do it is that they're overwhelmingly, it is always a male?
I can tell you, Rena, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I tell you unequivocally, it's that the way men and women think, and women, believe it or not, are much more rational and rules. They don't hesitate to seek others to resolve conflict. Men are much more spontaneous and, in fact, resolve it themselves, and I think that male ego kicks in far more often, and that's why you find I truly believe that correlates right into.
Stick with us for a second. I want to bring in CBS News correspondent
But you two were just saying we dug into some info to see how many female shooters have been involved in mass shootings. In 2006, an ex-postal worker had a history of mental illness, killed 6 other postal workers in New Mexico. In 2015, there was a 44-year-old woman who opened a tribal meeting, a Native American tribal meeting, killing here in California. There was San Bernardino back in December of 2015, where one of the in that shooting was in were on scene in San Bernardino for that. So it is very rare. We dug into the statistics there for you that according to Mother Jones magazine, who's kept a database on active shooters and mass shootings since 1980. The information we know at this point, a lot of you have been reporting there. We were listening to the press conference that the police chief, Ed Barini, gave in San Bruno just a short time ago. Numerous employees started streaming out the minute that his deputies got on scene there. His officers immediately encountered at least one victim as soon as the door. We know that 3 other victims were also transported to the hospitals, a total of 4 victims. In our reporting earlier, that those victims have gone to at least 2 different hospitals in the San Francisco area, both the San Francisco General Hospital and Stanford Hospital, both saying that they were taking victims. There could be others who were injured. Marini in San Bruno just a short time ago. Numerous employing out the minute his deputies got on scene there. His officers immediately encountered a victim as soon as the door. We know that 3 other victims in the hospitals, a total of 4 victims. In our report